It's time to learn BH. So, how does the BH method actually work? When you get to ZBLL, there are 3 steps to the BH method. First, recognize which OCLL case you have. In this case here, we have the T case. Next, if you don't plan on doing two-sided ZB recognition, AUF to the angle you choose to recognize the ZBLL from. Then recognize your corner permutation. There are multiple ways to do this on each OCLL. Finally, you will recognize one of 12 BH cases at the chosen angle. How do we recognize BH cases? So, what our BH case is these 3 pieces up here. So our edge here, corner here, and our edge here. So we look at the color patterns here, which would look like this if we filter it. We would have this color pattern here. When looking at a BH case, there are 3 types of color patterns: correct, opposite, and adjacent. So for most of our BH cases, we will recognize and name patterns by using some sort of color relationship here / some sort of color relationship here. So for example, this one would be A/C. This one would be C/C. This one would be O/O. What if the BH case is A/A? So all of these cases on the screen right now are cases that can be identified as A/A. As you can see here, these are adjacent and these are adjacent. So it's A/A. But since this one's also A/A, and so is this one, we have to use a different naming scheme for these ones. And what we would do is a color pattern X a color pattern. So what we would actually look at is, instead of these, we would look at like these colors here, like this. So this one would be CXO. This one would be OXC. And this one would be CXC. Remember that we only need to use these for the cases that could be identified as A/A. For each of the 12 BH cases, we give them unique names to memorize them easier. Let's go over all of them. So for our first case here, we have C/C, and this one's called block. It should be pretty intuitive because we have a big block here. Our next case here is O/O, and this one is called H. The reason why it's called H is because it looks similar to, it looks like this H' pattern here, where we have these opposites. So we can see here, this is O/O. For this one, which is CXC, like this one is called Z. Again, we can recognize it like the Z perm, which has these alternating colors here. So this is Z, which is CXC. This case here is OXO, like this. And this one is called ooze. The reason why it's called ooze is because the case is OXO. So we take the 2 O's and turn it into a word. So it becomes ooze. The rest of our BH cases will be harder to recognize and name, So I reached out and got help from my good friend Jackie.
So for this BH case, because it's A/A, so we use another naming system like OXC. So this, I call it waterfall. So to visualize it as waterfall, I'll imagine the adjacent pieces are water, like the water in the waterfall. So for this case, we can see the water is on the right hand side. So I imagine there's a waterfall here. The water flows from here and drop it like here sideways. So I'll call it waterfall. So I'll memorize it with this case. It's also AXA, but this time it's CXO. So this time, again, the adjacent pieces are water, but this time it's in the front side, the water. So I imagine it as the water flowing here like river, but not flowing here sideways. So front way, I call it river. Sideways, I call it waterfall. Okay, for this BH case, it's O/C, backpack. For the visualization of backpack, you can imagine the red part as the backpack strap color, and this green huge bar as the backpack color. And orange is either the neck of that person or the clothes the person wearing. So this cartoon will help you more visualizing the case. So red strap, green backpack, and the orange either the clothes, or you can think of it like the leg of that person.
Our next case here is C/O, and I call this one plate. How you can visualize plate is you can see this orange part here with the blue kind of makes this like block here, which you can think about like a plate if you look at it this way. So like over here is a plate. And then this green part here, you can think about this like thing here. It can be like food on a plate, or you can think about the plate like sedimentary rocks. So this is like a layer of rocks with the orange and blue here. And then up here is like another layer with the green, like that. So there's two layers here, which makes plates. This next one is C/A, like this. And I call this one floor. It's similar to the previous one, but there is a difference, which is that these are adjacent here. So again though, this orange and blue part here is the floor, like this. And then you can think about this red part here like something on the floor, or you can think about it like a person doing a headstand with this red part being the head. So like over here is like the object on the floor, and then down here is the floor. This is our next case. It is A/C, and originally this one is called table leg, but I didn't see the table leg here, so I renamed it to ceiling. And so it is the opposite of floor, which is our previous one. And on floor, our block was over here. But now our block is over here. So I just call it ceiling, and you think about the ceiling as like if you rotate it this way, the ceiling is up here, and then this is the stuff under the ceiling. So ceiling here, stuff under the ceiling. For our next case, which is O/A, this one is originally called dock, but again, I didn't see the dock in this pattern, so I renamed it to cat. And the reason why I renamed it to cat is because the O/A kind of reminds me of a cat meme. I'll bring it up right now. Finally, we have our last case, which is A/O. And this one is originally called dam, but I again couldn't see the dam in this pattern, so I renamed it to dog. And the reason why I call this pattern dog is because this side is A and this side is O, so it's like A/O. And that reminds me of the sound of like a howling wolf or husky. So then I call this pattern dog. So what if the corner of our BH case is twisted? So for pi and H cases, you won't have a choice but to recognize with twisted corners. So how do we do that? So we wouldn't actually need to imagine this corner and twist it back like that, but instead we'll just memorize it and recognize it a different way. So as you can see here, this is what we have on this cube over there. And what we'll think about is instead of trying to twist the corner back, we're just gonna look at it a different way. So let's take this cube, for example, and this might look like block because it's a twisted corner, and if you twist it back, it's block. But actually, this one is Z. And the reason why is because we're actually gonna look at like these two together, like these two are one side, like this, and then these two on this side are like another side. So it looks weird, but we kind of swap the yellow and the color that's on top. So like these colors are switched. So then this blue goes down to here, and so we have orange here and blue here. And over here, we have orange here and blue here. So then it would end up being CXC, like this. Here's another example. This time the corner is twisted the other way, so the yellow is facing on this side. And again, we're just gonna swap the yellow and the piece that's on top. So these two switch, so we have orange here, and then the yellow's up here. These two switch. And so we have orange, orange. And on this side, we have green and blue right here. So this is O/C, like this. So the color scheme won't be correct because the corner is twisted and you're switching two colors. But as you can see, on this side, we have our bar. Over here, we have our bar. And on this side, we have our opposites. And over here, we have our opposites. So this one here would be backpack. How do I use BH to do two-sided ZB recognition? So now that you've learned how to do BH cases and recognize them no matter if the corner is solved like this or if the corner is twisted like this, what you would have to do is go through each of the ZBLL cases and learn the BH pattern for all four corners. Then you would be able to look at one corner depending on whatever you landed on, and then you would recognize your corner permutation by using stickers around, and then you would look at the corner and recognize the BH case. So for example, this one is C/O, like this. So this one is plate, and because of that, I'll do a U prime and go straight into my algorithm. That's all we have for this video. Hopefully after watching this, all of you can understand the BH method a bit more. It may seem difficult to pick up on the method at first, but trust me, after enough practice and repetition, you won't even have to think about the case to recognize it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to leave any feedback in the comments. Goodbye.